Hello out there in the gaming world. This is another edition of East Meets West Gaming covering Star Citizen, and today we will be touring the Retaliator. 71-meter long bomber and a beautiful ship, an absolutely wonderfully looking ship. Currently at 71 meters, of course, she is the largest ship now available in Star Citizen and is now hangar ready, current of the 1.1 update. Until larger ships come along, she will be the biggest one in our hangars, and I'll tell you what, this is a just beautiful light warship. And I'm going to call it a warship. I mean, yeah, there's supposed to be things like it's a ship, it's a gunship. It's like a miniature pocket warship. It really is. It's got cap-killing power with its torpedo bays. It's kind of, I guess you could call it like the B-29 or B-17, if you will, or even, if you use a modern reference, the B-52 of the Star Citizen universe. This thing is just a large, long-range, jump-capable bomber just out there to lay waste to its enemies. And capital ships beware. Any organization that's running a fleet of these things will be able to probably make short work of your nice, pretty capital ships. I mean, this is a very deadly-looking ship. And what's also awesome is that this ship will be the testbed platform for the upcoming multi-crew ship gaming that I think, if I recall correctly, it should be about mid of this year, so around June, July time frame is when they were hoping. But as with all things Star Citizen, dates and deadlines are kind of fluid, so it'll be out when it's ready. But today we'll be touring the interior of this ship, and I gotta say, she is a beauty. So, nice matte black paint scheme with the red highlights. It's like an SR-71 from the future. It's beautiful. So let's walk up to the primary crew egress point. There's two of them on the port and starboard sides. They're these hatches right here. Okay, we'll walk around here, hop on in, pop up to our ship. And once you step in, you just really notice the level of quality that Foundry 42 has put into the ship. I mean, it is absolutely spectacular. I mean, we've got some flickering textures, some buttons that don't work here and there, but just, the detailing, the atmosphere, the look of this thing, it is top-notch all around. So right here, we're about midships, and kind of at that point in the ship, directly between the forward half section, which contains the forward weapons bay, and the aft section, which contains engineering and the aft weapons bay. Cruise quarters are directly forward of us, and then there's the aft turrets, which are aft of here, or to the stern of us, to the back of it. When you step on board, you get a real sense, I wouldn't say of claustrophobia, but definitely of a military design. Unlike the Constellation or some of the other ships that you've seen, this is definitely a military vessel. It gets that feeling. It very much feels like being on board a submarine. It really does. And actually, having been on board submarines myself, there's definitely that kind of feel to it. Now, granted, there's kind of this more non-U.S. We don't use the terms A or B deck. First deck, second deck, that's the U.S. military thing, but this is not the U.S. military, this is an ex-UEE bomber. And actually supposedly still in service, I believe, with the UEE. Long and storied history. The ship's first entered service, as I understand, somewhere around 2645, definitely in time for the Devaran War, in which Ivar Messer likely used them at the Battle of Idris IV to great effect to defeat the Devarans. The ship, while it had a very illustrious war career, kind of became the symbol of the Messer dynasty's oppression as Retaliator bombers were pressed into service to take out political dissidents and things of that nature. There is a new brochure out that's available, so I would highly recommend you check that out. Kind of touches on the history of the Retaliator. Pretty cool. I love how they're building the lore into these things, kind of giving a sense of rich history to these ships. So excuse my mouse kind of jittering around here. I'm just trying to adjust my mouse. But alright, let's head aft first and then we'll head up forward. So here we are on A deck. This is the main deck. As you come through these doors, and one thing, let me just stop and look at this door. Look at all the detailing into that. The bolts, the rivets, just even the scratching on the window pane just gives it this nice lived in, this is a workhorse kind of feel. You're on a warship. And you get that sense of claustrophobia, as well. You see low hanging ceilings. It's not very wide open like the main areas of the Constellation. These are narrow P-ways or passageways through the ship. It has a crew of 6, though as you will see as we go forward, there's some room actually for additional crew and personnel if you wanted to. So right here, directly on our right side, is what is to be the main engineering control area. Now, as you probably saw in the Retaliator videos, this console is supposed to flip open and will offer control for your primary flight engineer to be able to mess around back here. And then as we look through the window, right here, looking aft, this is the aft weapons bay. Now, there are no torpedoes in this bay. There could be. One of the things that's actually to be noticed is that if you read some of the literature attached to the ship, that some of the bays, or the bays themselves, will be modular, so you could swap it out for a cargo bay or even living quarters, as they mentioned. So on mine, I actually might turn my aft bay into more of a long-term living quarters, like a kitchen kind of area, because as you'll notice as we do the tour, there actually is no kitchen on board this ship. There's no eating area on the ship. I guess the crew is supposed to survive off just rations and things of that nature while they're underway. Or the ship is not really meant for standalone operations. It's meant to be supported by a larger ship like a Javelin or another carrier. So, but anyways, this is the aft weapons bay. So we'll head back out here. Close the door behind us. As it clearly says, please ensure door is sealed after use. There's little windows looking through into the aft bay. Now on our left here is access to one of the 2, or actually 3 top turrets, right? And this particular one is on the starboard side of the ship, and you'll note there's no chair right now mounted. This is one of the few items on the ship that hasn't been given buttons or fully fleshed out yet, but this will mount one of the 3 top turrets. There are 5 turrets in total, all of which are Class 5, and mounting CF-007 Bulldog repeating lasers from Klaus and Werner. So kind of a light armament, but all in, they're rapid-fire, accurate lasers that can really put out a sustained volume of fire. So when you've got at least 3 of them top and 2 bottom all working together, that could create a pretty nasty overlap of fire that any fighter who's coming after you is going to tangle with. So a lot of firepower. As we come down to the end of the P-way, come through this door on our right, this is the aft bottom turret right here. This is the access hatch to the bottom turret. Once again, all the turrets on the ship right now are non-interactable. They haven't sorted that out yet, but it will be, I hope. Alright, close this. Put on forward here. Lockers on both sides of the ship. You'll note lockers are kind of scattered throughout the ship as you go through it, probably for holding, personal gear and things of that nature, because there is a dedicated weapons locker on the B deck, the second deck above. Right here on the left, the port side top turret. Heading forward, another look into the aft weapons bay, and then essentially the port side entrance into the engineering bay. Okay, so now we're back at midships to the primary docking collars. You'll note there are docking collars on the bottom and top, so regardless of the orientation of the vessel, you can link right up. This ship is meant to marry with larger capital ships, and of course smaller ships that have docking capability can dock up as well. But it looks, looking at some of the concept artwork, seems to be this idea that the Retaliators will be able to link up with much larger capital ships like the Idris or particularly the Javelin, and essentially be a heavy support vessel, almost like a light. I don't want to say you use the word Corvette, because there actually is a Corvette that is due to come out, and that Corvette will be larger than this. But it's almost like a gunboat, maybe kind of a support vessel that could serve that. So before we head up the P-ways up towards the cockpit, we'll open this, and here is the forward weapons bay, carrying the Clear Skies torpedoes, 4 of them. These massive weapons, manufactured by ANR Armaments, are meant to kill capital ships, and they just look powerful. And for those of you who have actually been on board submarines before, military, of course, submarines. These look identical to it, and you can definitely see where the influence came for the bomber. Very much a submarine-style ship. Minus the propellers on the aft end of these torps, but they really look a lot like, hey, I don't know, what, Mark 50s, Mark 48 ad caps? I mean, they really do look like torps. Well, they are torps, so they're supposed to be torps. So close this door. Head on over to the port side. Make sure we seal the doors behind us. Here you have, it's supposed to be where a fire extinguisher is. Now, actually, this kind of raises an interesting question just in my mind. How is, damage control going to be handled on board ships like this? Fighters, you're getting shot up. There's really little you can do. But on ships that have dedicated crews, will there be nanobots that the main engineer can control, or the pilot will be able to bring to bear to maybe do spot repairs? Will the crew be able to break out the fire extinguishers and put out fires? If you watch the the Retaliator demo video, you'll note that the ship at one point sustains damage and emergency lighting comes on, things of that nature. So I kind of wonder to what extent we'll be allowed to repair and mess with the interior of our ship like that. But just a cool question. But hopefully they'll get answered. Actually, probably something we should put in for 10 for the chairman. Just look in. These windows, of course, are on both sides. Or actually, correction, no, they're not. They're only on this side, actually, because on the other side, you'll see later, is the crew kind of living in hygiene quarters. But on this side, you get a clear look into the bay. Monitors right on top here. Kind of wonder if you'd be able to maybe manipulate some of the torpedo. But I believe the torps will likely be controlled from the pilot's seat. I don't believe there'll be a dedicated bombardier. I think they'll leave that up to the to the pilot and the essentially the other 5 crew members providing, essentially covering fire with its turrets. Okay, looks like maybe some maintenance lockers right along here. Of course, they're blocked by these bars, so I don't think you really can get at these plates. One thing, and kind of going back here, just the little details that they have worked into these ships is just, I've said it before, but it is spectacular. It really is. Just everything. The piping exposed on the bulkhead, just the little warning stickers. Look at this. Look at this. There's a serial tag. A freaking maintenance serial tag. That's just, it's little things like that that really make this stuff feel awesome. So, come on through. You'll note there are no doors through this, but as we come right here, we can kind of peek a look into that forward weapons bay. And right up here is the cockpit. So, we'll come up forward. We'll hop in the seat here. And it's kind of crazy to think, here you are in this little seat, but just all of the firepower at your disposal. Just the sheer size of the ship. So I'm going to try to drop us into here. I like how all the pilots are bald now. That is a nice touch. Well, maybe we're not bald. We're just shaving our heads now. We're just trying to look cool like that. So you got this little tinted windshield for the pilot seat. It's kind of sleek. And, just look at that. I mean, it's so cool. You really get a sense of how big this thing is when you zoom out and see yourself sitting in the pilot seat. You're thinking, oh my god, I have got a huge ship behind me. I really do. I've just got a freaking warship. And it is impressive. I love how as you look towards the aft end of the ship, you've got those swept wings, those kind of variable geometry wings. Those will be able to extend in flight. I mean, just, so cool. One thing, and of course they noted it, you'll note the thrusters here on both sides, and then you can also see two on each side towards the aft end of the ship as you go further back. Those are actually supposed to be tilted up, because in launch mode they're supposed to provide that extra thrust to kind of get you up and then going. They're not supposed to be extended down. They will be extended down like that in flight mode, not in landing mode. So for now, they're dropped down, but for those of you who own tallies, you should see one actually see that change sooner or later when they patch it. A couple other nice little notes. You see the little intakes here. Note the 42, of course, kind of a touch to a little homage to Foundry 42. And on the you're looking directly at it, so it'll be the right side for those of us looking straight at the ship, but it would be the left side of the ship from the pilot's seat, is what looks to be like a sensor probe. that or it's like an IFR, but I think it's a sensor probe. I don't think it's an in-flight refueling probe, but just kind of part of the ship's sensor array and package. So, yeah, pretty cool there. Alright, so let's hop out of the pilot seat. And we will head back this way and up to the crew living space. So as we come up here, this is the top turret gunner seat right here. As we go further back, we're now on B deck. Remember to seal the door behind you. This is the crew living area. Now, there are 6 bunks, 6 racks in here that appear to be completely sealed. You cannot get in them right now. They're not interactable. This is just one of the few things that are interactable. Got a nice little viewport right here. Kind of look up. Now, it's been... texture flicker. Oh well. It's been noted that these are escape pods as well, so the crew can use these for egress in emergencies. So they'll actually detach from the hull and launch upward. And these... actually, I'm not certain how these egress. I think they do it maybe in sequence. I know this one and that one are supposed to detach completely and disconnect, but that I'm not necessarily fully clear on that. But anyways, this is supposed to offer such a living space for 6 crew members, so pretty cool. Bring your buddies along. Right forward of the crew sleeping area are the weapons kind of racks. These are supposed to hold just very small arms on board ship. You know, which is also kind of cool because you could use this as an ad hoc gunship, kind of a more of a heavy gunship. You know, the 6 crew members, after having disabled a target, could use it to board. This could be a really crazy pirate ship, actually, in retrospect, given that you can convert some of the torp bays into... I mean, God, you could ransack capital ships with this thing. It's kind of ridiculous. Okay, so over here on the starboard side of the ship, just after the pilot's area, is what appears to be a captain's quarter of some sort. This could be, I'm not certain if this is supposed to be a captain's quarter or a medical bay. You know, based on the fact that the med kit's right here on the wall, and kind of this looks more like a surgical bed, that this could be maybe some sort of medical station, maybe? But I kind of like to think of it as a captain's quarters, maybe. So like the pilot, captain, gets a little nicer place to stay, whereas, you know, the enlisted grunts have to sleep up top in their racks. You know, life sucks to be enlisted, I would know. Or it's a med bay. But either way, it kind of brings up an interesting question. This thing is supposed to have a crew of 6, right? So you've got 5 turrets and 1 pilot seat. So who's managing engineering? You know, is one of the gunners supposed to just hop out and go run to the engineering section? Which then makes me think that this might be a 7 crew ship. 6 enlisted, 1 flight officer. The flight officer gets his nice little cabin, and the enlisted are up in the racks. So that's just a kind of a thought. Don't know. We'll see as we go forward. Okay, final piece of the ship actually requires us to go back aft through the amidships docking port area. Door. Over to what is referred to as the crew, kind of like sanitation and kind of just keeping yourselves clean, you know. Take a shower, damn it. You smell like a bag of ass. Because I can imagine on a ship like this, oh my god, if you don't shower, ugh. You know, on carriers it stinks if you have a guy in your berthing who does not shower, does not clean himself up. Oh, you wish you could take a fire hose to his ass. I mean, it's yuck. So hopefully, your crew will take that to heart and keep themselves nice and clean in the showers, which of course lacks a door, which would be really awkward if you're one of the dudes who like, dude, I need to use the can. You come in, I'm here to use the head, and Navy term for bathroom. Come in to use your head, and there's a dude just totally showering. You know, for those of you who have actually been in the military, you understand that having to shower naked with a bunch of other dudes, you get used to that really quick. And I know that sounds like horribly gay, but whatever. Because in Great Lakes, for example, in most boot camps, the showers are all communal, and you're not given any time to really think about the fact that you're about to walk into a shower. Just don't look down. Just don't look down. You're cool. So I guess, you know, this has got that military mindset. You know, who cares? Just don't look at it. Just sit, take a shit, get out of here, don't look. So that's the end of that. I love how they remind you that this is not drinking water, so don't drink the shower water. That's a bad idea. And you know, of course, it doesn't say that on the toilet, but well, this says it right here. Of course, one would assume that the toilet seat is also not drinking water, but you know, of course, you got your toilet supplies directly below that. little med kit on the wall here. So you'll notice as we've gone through this entire ship that we are lacking in some sort of messing area. There's no area for the crew to sit down and eat. And I kind of wondered about that omission. They're also outside of the engineering space. There's really, and that's a standing area. There's no seat or anything for like a combat flight engineer or a bombardier or anything like that. So you can see there's definitely been refinements to the design, but at the same time there's some things missing. And I think that's maybe lending itself to the idea that this ship was not meant to fully operate independent. And if it was, you know, the crew were to survive off like rations, you know, ration packs and stuff like that. They weren't. This was not built for comfort. This was built for war. But you know, for my guys, you know, we're going to do long-term operations of sorts. I definitely plan on converting my aft weapons bay into some sort of crew or living quarter. Just kind of give these guys a little bit more comfort, because you know, outside of the little, you know, really small racks, that's just gotta stink. So one thing I'm going to comment on, actually having trial, and you probably have heard it as we've transited through the ship here, you hear the ambient noise. You know, you hear that kind of you know, like ventilation system filtering through the ship. And for those of you who have actually been on board ships or submarines, it's pretty spot on. I gotta wonder if they didn't go and, you know, go aboard a submarine or a U.S. Navy ship and kind of get an idea of what it sounds like on board a warship, because it's definitely got it down to a T. Now, since this is built by Aegis Dynamics, it definitely has got that Aegis feel like all the other Aegis ships, you know, sleek lines, but very utilitarian at the same time, very, very deadly looking ships. I wonder, you know, how much of that will this style of design, whether it be from Aegis or whatnot, influence, say, the Javelin. You know, will we have a very similar interior to the Javelin? You know, who knows? Javelin's still kind of being worked on and being fleshed out, and I can't wait to see it. I do not own a Javelin. I just don't have that much money. I've kind of hit my limit with this series. I've already spent probably too much than I ever would have normally on a game like this. But a game like this really deserves the backing, because when you see work like this, when you see just the quality and the time and the effort that is put into just making these ships so awesome, you really, really, really know your money's going to a good spot. I mean, this is going to be an awesome game. I mean, I don't want to overhype it, and I'm trying to keep my expectations low, because, you know, there's always going to be bugs, there's going to be problems, you know, there's going to be balancing issues, you're going to have griefers, you're going to have disconnections, day one problems, all sorts of stuff. But you definitely get the sense of a team that really cares about what it's doing, that is trying to make a game that they can play and that they're going to love. And, you know, this ship really screams that level of quality. So this has been the Aegis Dynamics Retaliator bomber. I have been Commander McNeil, your host. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please go check out some of the other tours, listen to the commentary from all the other guys out there in the Star Citizen community who have decided to purchase these vessels and give us these great tours. One guy I would recommend, just a call out, is Scott Manley. His walkthrough is absolutely hilarious. Just some of his commentary is just pretty funny. Especially where, I don't know why, but I found myself laughing pretty hard when he mentions that, you know, you don't want to be inside the forward bomb bay when the door is open unless you want to essentially mimic Slim Pickens. So, I know some of you aren't old enough to understand that reference, but that's okay. Yeah, go watch Dr. Strangelove. It's an awesome movie, by the way. So anyways, this has been the Aegis Dynamics Retaliator. I've been Commander McNeil. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please don't hesitate to comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. I'm not going to beg for subscriptions. Just if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. But thanks for sticking around all the same, and see you out there in the verse.